Hey guys, Art13131 here, and we're in week 2 now. Week 2 and assignment number 3, which is kitchen items in still life. Anytime we talk about still life, is something that's set up in front of you on a surface, probably a table or something else, but has a single light source, like what was described in the shading video. There's a single light source, not multiple, so that you can clearly see that there's a light source coming from one direction or the other, which creates a lit up side to your atom or a shadow side. This brings more contrast to your subject matter and also creates shape because of that. It's going to be more of a three-dimensional appearance because of all the contrast you're showing in your light and dark tones. Of course, the tones are what you're creating with your graphite pencil or charcoal if you're using it. And there should be, basically 7 levels of tones from light to dark. So light, a little darker, a little darker, a little darker until you into the dark tones. Between all those 7, you're showing the shape of your object or whatever you're drawing, be it round or cube, square, or sharp edges, or whatever shape it is going to catch the light in different ways and show that light source by either lighting up part of your subject matter a lot or in the mid-tones, which it's now backing off away from the light, or it's away from the light totally, and then you have the shadow side, I call it. And that's where your cast shadow is as well. So we're going to see some examples of that, and we'll go from there. There's a few things to note with that, and I'll have supporting video with demonstration and talking again about your light source and drawing these particular items. Okay, so kitchen items, it could mean several things actually. Um, One, it could be that you're setting up actual containers or bottles or cups and glasses. That's okay to do. And then you could have your light source on either side, a single light source. In this particular drawing, the light's coming from the left side here, shining on the left side of the items more, and then creating a shadow side on the right side, and a cast shadow that's actually going to the right of all the containers or the glasses down in here on the surface. That's a cast shadow. Cast from your item because it's in the way of the light. So this shadow appears on the other side. These are glass, so there's a lot of, back in here, there's a lot of reflection areas that are very bright. You can either leave those void of any graphite shading or come back and erase that out where you want them. Just thin erase lines. So you can go back and forth with graphite and erasing out, graphite erasing out to create what light source representation you want. And all these glass containers here have several reflections in them that are, in various places. So what I want you to do is set up your own scene, your own still life items, and then create that scene with a single light source coming from one direction or the other. Not multiple, not 3 lights on or something. One lamp or a window, but not both. Window light from outside. That's going to create the shadow side and the lit up side and all the contrast in that. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. Let's go back to here. Here's another example of it. Now, what I want you to notice with these containers is something that's called an elisp. If you're looking down into the top of these at all from where you're sitting, so you're looking down into the top. Well, this is called an elisp. It's the oval shape at the top of a container and at the bottom. All of these have an oval shape. It's rounded because the container's round, and you're now looking down at it, above it. Your eye level is above the container slightly, and you're looking down in it. So you want to make sure you put that elisp on the table where it's sitting and around the top. Now that elisp will change depending on your eye level. So if you stood up, it would be even more of an elisp, bigger oval. If you leaned over and looked over into the cup in these containers, it would appear to be a round circle, right? Because the cup is round in the inside. The glasses and bottle and everything are all round in the inside. But as you come back down and sit down again, you're changing your eye level again. It's all perspective. You're telling your audience where these cups are, these containers are on the table, and how high you're sitting above them looking down, where your eye level is. It could change at any time, depending on how high you're sitting in your chair, if you're standing up or sitting down, or if you're looking straight at them, which is going to be more boring. So you want to have your elisps in place, meaning it's not going to be flat on the table here and then showing an oval here. It wouldn't happen. I mean, you really notice that about what you're setting up if you're going to use containers. Really notice the elisp at the bottom and the top, bottom and top. A lot of students make the mistake of drawing something without the elisp on the bottom. They figure, well, that's on the table. It's straight across right there. No, it isn't. If there's an elisp on the top, there's an elisp on the bottom. Just notice it. Look for it. Okay? And I'll show you some other images of that same thing with different drawings. See the slight oval shape on the bottom starting to appear? You can see it here in the transparent glass that there's an oval shape to the whole bottom. Here, this one's not transparent, so you don't see the other side of that. But on the top, you see it on the top of all these. And actually, the elisp changes to less of an elisp as the height of your container goes up higher to meet your eye level. So if you were to take this cup, grab it with your hand and raise it up and down, and try that. Do it. Take a cup or a bottle, raise it up, lower it. You'll see the elisp grow when it's going away from your eye level. When it's starting to meet your eye level up here, the elisp goes away a little bit more because you're not looking over into the top of the container. You have to notice this about everything you're doing. It's a perspective, okay? So this is a little lower than this one, so it has a bigger elisp. This one has a little tiny elisp at the top, but bigger down here or in the bottom. And this is how you're going to see it. You should notice that about if you're going to set up containers like this. Start noticing that right away. Okay. I'll provide a video on elisps as well. We're going to do another assignment on them where you're really going to focus in on it. But if you're choosing to do items like bowls, all these have an elisp except for that square container back there. That is straight across because it isn't round. Okay? But all this has cast shadow. All this has a shinier side or a lit up side and then a darker side, even the bowl. It's light over here. It gradually gets darker as it comes around to the other side. So all these are the midtones. Here's your real dark tones back here, and here's your real light tone right there. Something that helps all of these is that the background and table are shaded as well. They're not just white, like these things are just floating in an abyss. They're floating in the air. No. Ground them. Put them on a table. Show your cast shadow. Even put in a little background. See, this is kind of just smudged in there. It's not a lot of detail, but it sure helps the items start having a three-dimensional appearance, and they come off the page more when there's something in the background and on the table, some tone, even if it's just smudged in. Okay, this is focusing on a cup, showing you the lit up side, the reflection mark down the top here, or the side right there, and then it gradually gets darker on the other side. And then there's also something called a reflected light from other items in the room, including the table, could be reflecting light onto the cup right here. So there's several levels of tones going on. It shows the shape of the cup. Same with the handle. It has lit up reflection areas, and then the dark area in the back, dark area right here. Look at all the different tones here. And so I want you to notice that about if you're doing a cup or other items. I want you to do at least 3 items. I'm showing you the cup just to focus in on the shading on a cup. Don't do just a cup. I'll say it 3 times. Don't do the only one cup, not just one container. You want 3 and overlap them like in these. These are all sort of overlapped, right? This is a good composition. This is a good still life because it's kind of natural. They're not all lined up straight across, all separate from each other, you know, very symmetrical. No, this is like a little bit of a mishmash, like they might actually be. So this is more interesting than something as, just lined up straight and not overlapping. But I'm just showing you the cup so you get the idea. And also in the inside of the cup, this is the dark part here because it's being kept away from the light by the side of the cup right here. And then the lid part is here. And notice that about your subject when you're drawing it. If you have something out like this, look at it. Notice that inside of the cup is lit up on basically the opposite side because this is catching the light and this part is kept from the light. But this is the opposite on the outside. This is kept from the light and this is lit up. Okay, so you got to notice about everything you're drawing when they're round surfaces or whatever it is. I'm going to show you another option to the kitchen items, which is basically putting down a bunch of utensils on the table. They're going to have cast shadows too. Right in here, all this cast shadow. The light is kind of strange. I think it's coming from the top, maybe the top left. Although this doesn't, it's kind of weird how that is showing that light source right there. It's not really consistent with this one. But it might be that the light is coming more from the top this way, back, behind, and that's why this has a cast shadow here. It's kind of strange though, but it's a good drawing anyway. But look at all the reflection areas on all the steel or metal utensils. A lot of reflection marks and then dark and light places everywhere. So you can do that if you want. Most people do something like this. And then put, you could have containers with utensils in them. Or one laying on the table and a piece of fruit. This is basically kitchen items that aren't appliances. Containers, utensils, fruit, stuff like that. Okay, so the light coming from the right side this time. This is all lit up on the container here, the jar. Then it comes over, it's a little darker as it comes around. A little darker, and then dark back here with a little bit of a reflection mark right there. Then you have the cast shadows all on the table. The spoon has reflection marks because it's metal and it's catching light that it's very lit up in certain areas but darker in other areas. This is showing that this has got sort of a beveled, curved inside to the spoon right here because it has all those reflection marks. If you put a spoon down with a single light source, you'll see all this. You'll see it right there in front of you. You just have to start noticing where the light and the dark and the midtones all are. And then it's real easy to see. This glass part right here is catching all kinds of reflections from the background right here. And it's distorting those images. So it's bringing that background into the container here and bringing it down into here, because that's what glass does. It generally starts to distort whatever's around it as an image and making its own sort of reflections and images out of it. But this is very strong back here because this is dark and these are lighter than the dark background, and that helps this particular drawing come right off the page at you. It really has a lot of presence. This is more of a reflection, like all steel containers, lots of reflection marks on everything. And if you put these out, you'll see them. Don't just say, well, that's just gray. It's just a gray cup. It's steel. That's all it is. No, look at all the reflection areas on, and actually it's reflecting it like a mirror in a lot of ways. A distorted image, possibly because this is going around. But you have the cast shadow. You see a light source. I'm not really happy with the elisp on this cup right here. It looks too straight. It'd be more of an elisp oval like that on the table, like this cup is, or bowl or whatever it is. This has an elisp on the bottom. Okay, is that the last image? Okay, here's another cup just to show you again the lit up side, the darker side, a little reflection area back here from other lights, reflected light. So light is coming over here and reflecting on something over here and giving a little bit of a reflection onto the cup right there, which helps it have shape again. So the very dark area here and then that reflection area. Inside of the cup, it's opposite. This is the dark part, and that's the light part, because the light is being kept from this area in here by the side of the cup. It's blocking it. Then you see all this light area here because it's catching there. See, opposite here. This gives a lot of shape. This is showing there's an inside. This is the big elisp on the top, oval, and then a little one down here too. But it's the same curved shape. It should basically match. But anything lower than your eye level starts getting more of an elisp. The bottom actually should be just slightly more than the top, but this is very close together here. It isn't like the bottom is way down here like a bottle would be, so it's not as obvious. But big cast shadow here, even a little bit of smudging in the back to get rid of the white. If something's not white as paper, don't leave it white as paper. Whatever you're looking at, whatever you're drawing, if it is not as white as that paper, then don't leave it that way. It has a tone. All right, so I think we can get going on this. Watch the videos. I'm going to have one on elisps and possibly still life drawing, just to get an idea to it. And but basically set up your own still life of kitchen items. They can include and have both containers and utensils, or just utensils. But overlap the utensils like I showed you in this one. You know, lay them around with each other, rather than just straight up on the table all lined up. Like, you know, that's boring. You want cast shadows, you want overlapping. You're creating a composition. That's the scene you're looking at. Okay, that's going to do it for now. And we'll talk with you later.